to ensure that our people be given the opportunity to vote.
First Nations leaders rallying on the steps of the Manitoba Legislative building to empower Indigenous citizens to make their voices heard and rock the votes in the upcoming provincial election.
We have to be sure that our rights are protected, our human rights basically, right? Our treaty rights and our charter rights by these guys that are running the show here.
The event by the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs seeks to break down the barriers that hinder First Nations people from participating in the electoral process, such as locating polling stations, registration, or having to present 2 pieces of ID. Through a partnership with the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs and Elections Manitoba, First Nations citizens can now use Indigenous leaders as guarantors for identification and be able to vote.
And it's a guarantor document for leadership, either chief or councillors or the band membership clerks, to be able to ensure that the people that are voting are actually the people guarantored to vote from communities, from our First Nation communities.
The electoral body present at the rally to take voters' registration, as well as providing information and answering questions of community members. Grand Chief Kathy Merrick says there have always been jurisdictional issues when it comes to finding solutions to problems Indigenous people face as a result of transfer agreements between the federal and provincial governments.
A lot of times now with the federal government, there's a lot of transfer payments that go to the province. So we need to be a part of that process where we can have our own people be there and to be able to be at the table to decide about monies coming to the province from the federal government.
Youth Chief from Southern Chiefs Organization says going out to vote, especially as young First Nations people, honors their ancestors before them who didn't have the same rights. She says they need to choose a government that will prioritize their needs.
And I notice so often that government will say Indigenous issues. And that's not something that I'm super fond of, because they're not issues that we as Indigenous or First Nations people created ourselves, but they're the issues that government and colonialism has imposed upon us. And it's their job to work towards remedying those issues and to being committed to uplifting our voices.
The event continued with a march to the RBC Convention Center for a forum with representatives from the NDP, Liberal, and the Green Party to answer questions and address issues of First Nations in Manitoba. In Winnipeg, Temi Olatunde, City News.
Next on